Alright, Carnotaurus, the meat-eating bull that excels in hunting small game and can usually be found in open areas. This carnivore is by far the biggest threat to OMNIRAPTOR, as they are faster, they occupy the same terrain, and when there's four of them, it can very quickly turn you from a deadly hunter into a fragile prey. So that brings us to the question, like, how do you tackle these encounters? And how do you dodge their enormous hitbox? Today we're going to be diving deeper into this matchup, and to start off, we should first take a look at how fragile it actually is. I'm gonna try stay effective and to the point in this clip, and I think the best way to do that is to just dive right into it. First on the list is we need to know the carno, like know your enemy. So let's grab one and do a little bleed test.
Okay, I TP'd on old man, she's dead. Guess I flattened her. Ness, you put a full bleed count into me. I'm curious. Leave enough stamina to run away with. Okay. Let's say I'm trying to catch you. Let me just hit air.
Okay, so after a full fight, this is where my blood started healing. That is from a single bleed bounce. So the Carnotaurus is quite weak to bleed, even with bleed resistance. And that's just from one single raptor. So it is pretty fragile to it. And bleed is a really strong weapon against it. If you can put a lot of bleed on a carno, you will probably bleed it out and kill it. Especially if you are more than one. Alright, so raw damage. With bleed, it is always a bit tricky to know how much, damage you do, since you cannot really apply the math to it. However, with raw damage, you can. The OMNIRAPTOR has a bite force of 65. The OMNIRAPTOR has a damage output of 10 damage per 1% stamina spent on a damage bounce. The Carnotaurus has 1300 HP. Hits to the head deal 150% damage, hits to the body 100%, and tail base 66, give or take. And tail tip is even lower than that, but I don't know the exact value. I just know that it's a waste of your time and damage. So basically, you deal 97 damage on a headshot, 65 damage on a body shot, and these two values are your bread and butter in this fight, as you will want to focus on the body hits or the headshots whenever possible. I see some people chasing tails and biting tip tails, and to that I say, the extra hits are nice, but if you are not landing your body shots or headshots, you're essentially going to take forever to kill it. You might not even have enough stamina to do it to begin with if you go down that path. And while we're on the topic of stamina, the Carnotaurus uses a godly amount of stamina when using the when using the ram consistently, right? Like it's constantly ramming, it's gonna drain itself so hard. So if you can just refrain from pouncing it, you will probably outstam the Carno almost every single time. That said though, most of you struggle with the ram hitbox, and knowing how to deal your damage is one thing. Knowing how to outstam them is one thing. But I think in this fight, like the first and foremost thing anyone should be practicing and learning is how to dodge the Carno. So let me give you an example.
You would have kicked.
Alright, so let me pause it right here. And let's take this image into Photoshop so I can illustrate a thing or two. Let's go switch. Alright, so we're in Photoshop. Yes, it's French. No, I'm not French. It's just a Photoshop that I got. First of all, what I really want to show is something that people need to understand. And it's kind of what I do whenever I'm fighting, right? Now I got another image because this one it's, you know, it's kind of from an angle and makes it really hard to illustrate. So instead, let's use this one. This one's much better. And let's draw ourselves a little circle. See if I can make it big enough. Very simple. Let's also put a bit of color on it so that we understand the range. Now, inside of this range, you know, is basically the area of its attack. Meaning that if you step inside this circle, the carno will be able to hit you. And the way you can make the circle is very simple. You start at the tip of the tail, you make a full circle going around it. And you're gonna have to do this in game, like in your mind, you know what I mean? So for example, this image circle would be something like this. Because you cannot see it from the top, right? But here we can. So it makes it really easy to explain. So what I would basically do, let's say I'm the OMNIRAPTOR, I would orbit this range. I will not step in here unless the carno is attacking. So if the carno attacks, I'll fly in, bite him, and shoot out back into my range. Now, of course, you have to think about how you attack. Like if you just attack like this and you exit from the front, then there's a good chance he's gonna get you. So what I kind of recommend doing is whenever he attacks, you go in and you exit from the back. So you go in, you exit from the back. It's like, doesn't matter where you're coming from, you want to exit from the back. Often what I also do is just bite here and immediately U-turn out of there. Some people just do this, run away, and then they get clipped right here. So that's that. Now the second thing that I really recommend doing is adding another barrier. Create a layer, bit of a color overlay. Let's make blue for this one just to help it illustrate better. Now this is what I call the desync circle. This circle you can put into place when something is laggy, right? So target is lagging, but instead of being here, you want to be even further out. You want to be here. This gives you this little bit of wiggle space. Another thing you can do to make it bite, like this is essentially the basis of baiting, is let's say you're over here. You want to make the carno bite. So you run in, then here you stop. Carno tries to do a bite. Just like that, you go around and you attack. It's pretty straightforward. And then you just dip from the other side out again. Even at the front, like, yeah, I don't recommend it on a carno because with carno there's this other thing that you really need to keep in mind, and that this radius right here. So meaning that if you're like orbiting, yeah, this is orbiting when you go around it. As soon as you go in here, you're kind of screwed. So what I recommend doing is when you do get into the front of it, is that you kind of orbit around that area. This is kind of your orbit area on a carno. And this is of course dynamic because, you know, carno is turning, etc. But you want to stay away from this. And that is literally the hitbox in a nutshell. And you can apply this circle thing to every dinosaur. Like a Tenno, for example, you just tip of the tail, make a full circle around it with its body as center. Like this should be the perfect center. My circle might not illustrate that perfectly. I just hope that you guys get the idea. And you want to stay outside of that. So to go back to our own image, that would be, give or take, here. Forgive my imperfect circle, but I am outside of that circle. So that is what's going to keep me safe. And I will try to always move towards the back of the carno. Like he's going to turn here, so I will turn to the left, trying to turn into his blind spot. And if you occupy the area behind it, then you're most likely not to get hit by that ram hitbox. So this is literally what I see in my mind whenever I'm fighting, and this switches with, the dinosaur as I'm fighting it. Kind of like soccer games where if you select this player that has the ball, and it has like this little circle underneath his feet while you're playing with the ball. Like that is how I see dinosaurs as well. It helps me map out their attack range and everything and all that, yada yada. So now we get to the next part. And the next part would be how to dodge it, because there's some desync involved, so let's get into that now.
Seems fine at first glance. Just got baited. Let me check his charge hitbox. Seems fine.
Now here, I want you to pay attention how I step out of the way before he even begins his attack. This is how I counter desync. And it's the very basis of doing so.
Hello. 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 This way. No, not this way. Oh, ooh. Almost. No. 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 Ha ha ha. Oh. Oh, then I'll bet him in the face.
Now here I get hit by the desync. You have to understand that on the carno screen, I am further behind. Meaning that he can hit my shadow as to speak. Because that is essentially what desync is. Just pay close attention, keep track of my shadow and notice how it gets hit whenever I'm not fast enough, like right here. So you want to dodge for yourself, but you also want to dodge for your shadow.
Get absolutely trolled.
Now in addition to that, if you get hit on your own screen, it also counts as a hit. So you have this moment where you can get hit or your shadow can get hit. So you have to dodge for both, yourself and your shadow. So next, we're gonna get into strategies on how to tackle a carno. I like to say that there's 5 different fights. First one is a solo fight. Second one is how you should go about it as a duo. The third one is how you should go about it, as a grapple, at least trying to grapple. And the fourth one is how you should act when there's more than one carno. There are strategies for all these situations, and yeah, let's just lay them out one by one. Besides, this carno is running away, he doesn't want to fight my mini bean anymore, so let's just get into that. Alright, this first strategy is very simple. It's for the 1v1. You want to land 10 bites and then you want to go into a damage bounce. This has a lot of damage potential, but you have to keep your stamina really high.
Oh, I'm so loud. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, big fat damage bounce to get you below 50% HP. Oh boy. Alright, now I gotta keep my stamina. Don't waste too much of it. And that's how you kill a carno. Just with fall damage.
Now for the 2v1, you just want to spam damage bounces. You have a 2k damage potential, which is overkill, and you should easily be able to win that.
The one good thing about a damage bounce is that even if you're damaged, it doesn't really matter. Make your life a little bit heavier so that you take more time to reach a tree. Now you bait it out, back to the field. A little bit of hitting can always be done when it starts camping. A little bit of friendly fire there, but that takes short. That's fine. Yeah, that was a little bit of a gangbang, I know. Good job, Nix. Second of all, let's just have fun. Let's fight it. Do as much damage as you can. Burst damage, bounce damage, whatever you can think of. Oh damn, yeah, 1% HP. She was about to die. See? You just go really, really hard on it.
For the 3v1, it is pretty simple. You want to go for a grapple. The way you want to go about it is The first raptor gets on its back, and the other two raptors will try to climb on either flank. And that way you can bring a carno to the floor really easily. You have to do it really fast though. You have to strike like lightning before they can reach a tree. That's the only catch. Now, before we get into that matchup, I first want to show you guys a little trick. And I'm also teaching it to these two on the spot so they can use it in the fight. But basically, if a carno rams you from a short range where it doesn't make you fly, then you can trade with a pounce. So you can latch on and trade. It runs you over, and the moment it does, you can click the button. Now there are two pitfalls here to account for. The first one is don't face towards the carno, because you'll end up just head kicking him and getting rammed in the face. And that's also actually the reason why you want to be backwards, especially to counter both these things. You don't want to take head damage, you don't want to do a face kick. So you give him your ass, and the moment he runs you over, you latch on. You also have to be careful when it does a long ram, because when it does a long ram, you won't get the time to do that. You will be sent flying. So avoid it on long rams, always sidestep those. And with that trick out of the way, yeah, let's just get into the matchup. How to perform a grapple. Alright, as soon as you... Alright, and as soon as you have more than 3 raptors, you can really start to dominate this fight. It is not even funny anymore for the carno. Like, you get your ass kicked so hard that it almost doesn't even need a tutorial. You can just toss a group of raptors at a carno and it is most likely going to die. Show you guys an example. Now I know this is a raptor tutorial, but for all the carnos out there, if you have more than 3 raptors against you as a solo, you either better know what you're doing or you get the hell out of dodge. That's the only thing I can say. Alright, so the situation with multiple carnos, right? Here you apply a very simple strategy. The strategy is simple, that you do not get into the middle of the carnos. You fight at the border of the whole fight. You stay at the border and you keep them at one side of you, all of them. And when you start doing that, you will notice that you have a higher success rate in your dodges. Because it's, you know, if you're in the middle of both of them, one is going to blindside you. And as soon as they start blindsiding you, then it's just a matter of chip damage and a matter of it becomes a time bomb. You will die. So stay at the edge of the fight when facing more than one carno. Ah, well, we were trying to squeeze in this fight right before the restart, so I only have myself to blame for even attempting this. But yeah, the server restarted. Thankfully, I do have footage though. I'll just have to take it from one of my videos and yeah, let's have a look. They have spotted carnos. There's 3 of them. But the raptors are not afraid. You see, they have a strategy. And the strategy is very simple. When fighting multiple carnos, all you really want to do is prevent ending up in the middle of them. Right now they're setting up, getting ready to pounce. A loud sound. This is the moment. And the fight starts. Carnos realize a little too late that they don't have a chance. They try to flee, but they get chased down by the pack members and meet their end as soon as they run out of gas. Now, I would like to close off with a bit of advice. If you are ill-prepared, inexperienced, and you run into multiple carnos, get the hell out of there. Don't even look twice at it. Only try to approach this fight if you have a pack you can rely on with solid teamwork. Otherwise, you're gonna get absolutely, you're gonna have a bad time. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, with that one out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next one because there's more guides incoming per dinosaur. Let's see what's next on the list. Let's have a little look-see. Oh, it's Sarah. Pretty sure a lot of you are eager for this one. A lot of you struggle with this one. So see you in the next one.